It's weekend time. It's also time to go out to the left coast and find out what's happening with movies. And Michael Snyder. Hello, Michael.
Well, howdy, Alex. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. And yourself?
I'm all right. I'm feeling very Western, thus the howdy. But, actually, let's go into the mysterious East in the movie reviews. Shall we rock? Shall we roll? The Jungle Book. Oh, my God. Well, I walked into the latest Disney, quote, live action, end quote, remake of one of their animated classics with a chip on my shoulder. But the new adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book is no revision. It's not like the studio's, what I thought was heavy-handed recasting of the Sleeping Beauty character Maleficent, for instance, as a wronged, sympathetic dark goddess played by Angelina Jolie. No. This doesn't do that. Instead, it's a completely true-to-the-source material example of damn fine movie making for the whole family. It retells the tale of the abandoned human child Mowgli, who's raised by wolves in the jungles of colonial-era India. And to be fair, it's not really a live-action film per se, even if it stars a real and appealing kid actor named Neil Sethi as the nimble, good-hearted, innocent Mowgli, who interacts with all manner of creatures and scampers through the lush and arid landscapes. At the end of the film, the credits read, filmed entirely in downtown Los Angeles. It's mind-boggling. All of the beautiful vistas and realistic talking animals are computer generated, but it never feels phony, thanks to what is now shouldn't be mind-boggling wizardry of the animators, but it still is to me. The CGI is fantastic. The script by Justin Marks adapts elements of the Kipling narrative and the Disney cartoon that preceded this one. And the skill of the director, Jon Favreau, is unassailable. With Elf and Iron Man and other hits on his resume, I think he's yet to make a truly bad movie unless you really hated Cowboys and Aliens. And the voice talent in this thing for the various jungle creatures is dead on. Bill Murray is Mowgli's mischievous companion, Baloo the bear. Ben Kingsley is the boy's mentor, Bagheera the panther. Idris Elba is the villain of the piece, the tiger Shere Khan. Lupita Nyong'o is the caring wolf mother. Scarlett Johansson is the voice of the hypnotic snake Kaa. And especially great is Christopher Walken as King Louie, the gigantic orangutan. As a nod to the Disney cartoon version, they even managed to integrate a few of the memorable, crowd-pleasing songs that we all know without interrupting the adventure and the attempt at lifelike animal renditions. You know, when I saw the trailer, I thought, it's kind of creepy. I totally loved it. Ultimately, it was endlessly engaging, a movie-going experience for the proverbial children of all ages. And as a postscript, it was one of Gary Shandling's last roles. How fitting that he played the voice of a prickly, fussy porcupine. Really enjoyed The Jungle Book. I wish I could say the same about The Muddled Criminal, which is a thriller mixed with sci-fi about a kind of lunatic convict, super violent, completely unlikable, who is implanted with the memories and the skills of a dead CIA agent. The CIA agent is played by Ryan Reynolds, and it's almost a cameo. And he dies on the job, and he has some secrets that they want to instill or mine somehow, find out where the money's hidden, blah, 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 the MacGuffin stuff. And so they bring in a doctor played by Tommy Lee Jones in grizzled mode to somehow extract the memories from the dead CIA guy and find a willing receptacle. And apparently the only willing receptacle, the only biological match, is a psycho killer played by Kevin Costner, who has absolutely no empathy, is prone to violent outbursts, and yet he's thrown into the middle of this thing, higgledy-piggledy, willy-nilly. Gal Gadot, who is so impactful as Wonder Woman in the less than satisfying Batman versus Superman film, plays the wife of the late agent, and she gets embroiled in all this. And as the win at all costs, ends justifies the means CIA operative who oversees this misbegotten idea, Gary Oldman, is in pretty good form. Unfortunately, the plot has massive holes. The script goes like in a million different directions at once. You never really buy. What does Letterman say? Buy the premise and you buy buy the bit. You never buy that they CIA would be willing to toy with a psycho like the Kevin Costner character. And Costner makes a great villain. Don't get me wrong, he does. And everybody brings their skills to bear, but it does feel a little other than Costner's kind of complete immersion in the character, which you buy to the point where he's so unlikable you don't root for him even if he has a change of heart. Other than that, it's kind of a dead loss. Directed by Ariel Roman, written by a couple guys, Douglas Cook and David Weisberg. It just didn't work for me at all. Kind of goofy. Okay, a thrilling surprise. Green Room is a movie about an indie rock band who are they lose a gig in the Pacific Northwest. So their booking agent, kind of a sleazy drug dealing weirdo, gets them a gig in this remote Oregon roadhouse. And they go, well, we'll make a little bit of money. It won't be a lot, but we won't feel like we came out here into the boondocks for nothing. And it turns out to be basically the headquarters of a bunch of crazed white supremacists. And so this punk rock band finds themselves there, and they do their show, including a version of the Dead Kennedys, Nazi punks blank off, to the point where they've infuriated the crowd. And then someone is killed. And in order to cover up the killing, these white supremacists have to deal with the punk rock band. Their leader is played by Patrick Stewart. And you may go, what? Are you kidding me? He's great in this and incredibly chilling. And among the band members, Anton Yelchin and Aaliyah Shawkat are kind of familiar faces, and they're appropriately kind of silly, goofy, indie, smug. And of course, their worlds are turned upside down. Imogen Poots, the British actress, plays a local punk rock chick who ends up stuck in the middle of the battle as well. And it's funny and freaky and it's kind of scary. Imagining a horror thriller like this, it's kind of a slasher pick, but it's really not. But to imagine something like this being good is a shock to begin with. Written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier, and it's great stuff. I loved Green Room, and I think it's going to read really well on video, streaming and such. But the biggest treat for me this week is maybe the corniest and maybe the most familiar in style. It's Sing Street, which is the latest film from writer-director John Carney, who was the guy behind Once, which won an Academy Award for its two lead actors / musicians for the song they wrote, Glenn Hansard and Marketa Irglova. Sing Street is a real return to form after Carney did Begin Again, which was set in New York City and featured, Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley, and was about the American music business in a way. This thing goes back to Dublin, to Ireland, where Carney is from, but back to the 80s, kind of like Everyone Wants Some. It's the nostalgia trip of the early 80s, but this is a different duck. A 14-year-old boy named Connor, played by a young actor named Ferdia Walsh-Pilo, finds himself in a new school, a public school, in a lower-class neighborhood than where he's from, because his family's experiencing economic hardships. His mother and father are squabbling and on the verge of divorce. He can't go to the more expensive private school, and now he has to figure out a way to fit in with all the bullies and that sense of being a misfit. So he doesn't know what to do until he meets this kind of adorable local girl who's about a year or so older than him. He falls for her and decides to impress her. He's going to start a band, including music videos a la Duran Duran, shot by the kids themselves. And, the puppy love starts there, but you also get the socioeconomic problems of the early 80s facing people in the UK. You get the family falling apart. You get some really kind of sweet pastiche-style original music that the band does. And Sing Street also deals with what happens in a school like that, being run by a rather unsavory priest. So there are a lot of different elements to it. I really enjoyed this thing. And as Connor, Walsh-Pilo is dead on, and as the beautiful Rafina, the girl of his dreams, Lucy Boynton, is a perfect match for him. And Mom and Dad are familiar to American TV viewers. Aidan Gillen, who plays Littlefinger on Game of Thrones, is the father, and Maria Doyle Kennedy, who is the mother figure, Siobhan, on Orphan Black, is the mom here. And I loved it. Again, it's a little corny and maybe familiar. It obviously taps into the DNA of John Hughes's films. It's sort of like an Irish version, in a way, years later of 16 Candles or Pretty in Pink. But, you know, it appealed to me. I was terribly entertained, and I really rooted for everybody in the movie. So there you go. Sing Street worked for me. One quick note, Barbershop, The Next Cut, which I didn't expect much from, turned out to be pretty damn good. Apparently, Ice Cube has a real way with comedy. The rapper and actor and now producer and writer did Friday, which I thought was pretty cool. The Barbershop movies, for the most part, good. The first one in particular, which is all about neighborhood barbershop in the inner city of Chicago, has spawned sequels and a TV show. And this is actually maybe the best thing since the first Barbershop film. Barbershop, The Next Cut is a return to Calvin's Barbershop with his the usual suspects, including Ice Cube and Cedric the Entertainer. A few other actors and actresses show up here and are recurring. And what's really good about it is things haven't gotten much better in the African-American inner city, even though, you know, we have an African-American president in Mr. Obama, who's from Chicago, by the way. Chicago's still having plenty of trouble. And this movie, while being funny and having a lot of like set bits, also addresses those difficulties. And there's a lot of debate and talk, and it's funny and it's pointed and it's surprisingly impactful. I was pleased about this. And again, kind of like every film that we've mentioned so far, other than The Jungle Book, you could watch Barbershop, The Next Cut on video, or support it in the movie theaters. Guess what? Guess what, Mr. Bennett?
What?
This week, I think, is the final arrival on these shores of The Night Manager on AMC, a co-production with the BBC. I know both of us highly endorse the show.
Mm-hmm. I don't endorse it in America, however, because it's going to have commercials.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. So if you possibly can, get in your time machine and your TARDIS and whatever will take you to England from about a month and a half ago and watch this show, or wait for the video. Maybe you should wait for the video.
Well, probably, yeah, because this thing doesn't work well with breaks in it, you know, and I can't imagine it'd be that good with breaks in it. So I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, I have to say that what you're pointing out is actually one of the most impactful aspects of this thing, because we couldn't get enough of it. I had access to the BBC version, and we just couldn't stop watching it. And it was the sort of thing that any kind of break, even from episode to episode, was sort of galling.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom Hiddleston is a former military guy who gets caught up with the meanest man in the world, an arms dealer, an entrepreneur, and phony, played by Hugh Laurie, and it is really a great piece of work.
Yeah.
Based on a John le Carré novel.
Okay, good. Well, that about wraps it up, I guess. Tell them where they can find you, Michael.
I'm on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and you can get clips, audio clips of Alex and myself going at it, and some articles by me at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page on Facebook.
Thank you very much, Michael. See you again next week. And for the rest of you, there's more GABNet coming right up, so stay where you are.